What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and we're back with more Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft review coverage. So, I'll just start it off up front. Hey, if you like what I do here, consider subscribing to the channel, giving this video a thumbs up, doing the YouTube stuff, leaving comments if you like it, dislike it, whatever. It helps the algorithm, helps the channel grow, and I'd love to hit 100,000 subscribers by my birthday in July. I recognize that's probably not a reasonable expectation, but I'll put it out there, maybe it'll help manifest it. So let's talk magic items. I mentioned this in the top 10 I did, and I think I did a TikTok about it too, but there's basically no magic items in this book. I originally had said there was one new magic item, and it is a reskin. There are technically 3 magic items, but they are all, again, reskins of existing magic items. So one of them isn't even a reskin, it is just a reprint. So let's go ahead and take a look. So the way I had to do this, because there's no appendices, as I discussed also in that same top 10 video, the appendices is a singular page that is the spirit board. It is not a list, there is no index, there's no quick reference. So there's 2 things you got to know about this kind of stuff. Your options are to find, they don't release PDFs. Wizards of the Coast does not release PDFs of their products, so you can't go buy a PDF of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft and then use a Control-F search feature to find magic items or something like that. The best option you can do is to get it on D&D Beyond, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't get it on D&D Beyond. I'm just telling you the best way to learn about this kind of stuff is through D&D Beyond because of what I'll show you right here, and that is the sort function that they have on the site. So again, you'd have to have whatever the specific book you're talking about purchased and unlocked on D&D Beyond. But if I were to go to here, here's how I got here, just to give you. So I went for game rules, I went to magic items, and then I went to show advanced filters. And what I did is I came down here to source, and you'll see this will list all of the different adventures and modules and books. And I scroll down to Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, I hit filter magic items, and it gives me all 3 of the magic items contained in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. That is the only reasonable way to guarantee you're going to find everything, because again, I've seen even in some books where there isn't appendices with the new magic items, there are also magic items sprinkled throughout the books. There is no consistency across each adventure module or campaign guide. Some have appendices, some don't. Some have them sneakily hidden throughout, some don't. So here we go. So Harkon, I guess possibly potential spoilers too for Van Richten's Guide. And when I say spoilers, it's really just references to specific dark domains, has nothing to do with the adventure. Domains of Dread. So we have Harkon's Bite. A dire wolf tooth dangles from the simple cord necklace. While you wear it, it grants you a +1 to ability checks and saving throws. That is the exact same as a Stone of Good Luck, or the Luck Stone. That is exactly what that does. It is an attunement magic item that gives you a +1 to ability checks and saving throws. The only thing that makes this unique is the curse associated with that, which is attuning to Harkon's Bite curses you until either Harkon Lucas removes the necklace from you, or you are targeted by a remove curse spell or similar magic. As long as you remain cursed, you cannot remove the necklace. Upon donning or removing the necklace, whether you are attuned to it or not, you are afflicted with werewolf lycanthropy as detailed in the monster manual. The curse lasts until the dawn after the next full moon. If you are still wearing the necklace at this time, you are afflicted with lycanthropy again. So it's basically a luck stone that curses you with lycanthropy, which, potentially could be something you're interested in. There's the issue of possibly the alignment shift associated with becoming a werewolf, which is an evil creature. But, maybe you can work that out with your DM and really turn your curse into a benefit. Next up is, I think it's pronounced Nepenthe. It is a Holy Avenger longsword. That's what it is. It says right here, requires attunement by a paladin. One of the only magic items in the entirety of all of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, a magic item that specifically requires attunement by a paladin and nothing else, is a Holy Avenger longsword. And the only thing unique about Nepenthe is it is the sentience attached to it, but it is still just a Holy Avenger. If we take a look, it's a +3 to attack and damage rolls. When you hit a fiend or undead, they take an extra 2d10 radiant damage. While you hold the drawn sword, it creates an aura in 10 feet around you. You and all creatures friendly to you in that aura have advantage on saving throws and other magical effects. If you have 17 or more levels in the Paladin class, the aura increases to 30 feet. That right there is verbatim the description of the Holy Avenger as described in the Dungeon Master's Guide. And then we have the uniqueness of this, sentience. Nepenthe is a sentient neutral evil weapon with an intelligence of 10, wisdom of 8, and a charisma of 18. It has hearing and dark vision out to a range of 60 feet. It can read and understand Elvish. It also can speak Elvish, but only through the voice of its wielder, with whom the sword can communicate telepathically. And then we have a little bit about the personality about it and its lifetime. It's beheaded thousands of criminals, not all of whom were guilty of the crimes of which they were convicted. The sword cannot distinguish the guilty from the innocent. With each beheading, it hungers for more justice and blood. It is corrupt and irredeemable. So it is just a sentient Holy Avenger, which I could obviously see the interest in someone obtaining this. And it definitely has an interesting concept for a paladin, right? The pinnacle paladin weapon is the Holy Avenger, right? There's no denying that, at least as it stands right now. Something that would be relatively accessible and not a unique artifact of any kind. The Holy Avenger is what you want as a paladin, right? That's just the thing that you usually strive to get. But I could also see the very interesting bit about how this is supposedly an irredeemable evil sword that hungers for justice, but also blood. And I could definitely see a paladin wanting to try and cleanse and redeem this sword. According to the sword's description, it is irredeemable, which seems a little damning in that respect. Like, you know, I guess that saying the sword is irredeemable is easier and less pages than detailing out how to redeem the sword. But I think that that could be a really interesting quest line for a dedicated paladin to try and save this sword, for lack of a better term. And then lastly is a Sword of Vengeance. It's the exact one that appears in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So it says right here, appearance, Dungeon Master's Guide. +1 to attack and damage rolls, requires attunement. The sword is cursed and possessed by a vengeful spirit. Becoming attuned to it extends the curse to you. As long as you remain cursed, you are unwilling to part with the sword, keeping it on your person at all times. While attuned, you have disadvantage on attack rolls made with other weapons than the one that you have, or the cursed weapon. In addition, while the sword is on your person, you must succeed on a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw whenever you take damage in combat. On a failed save, you must attack the creature that damaged you until you drop to 0 hit points, or it does, or until you can't reach the creature to make a melee attack against it. You can break the curse in the usual ways, which, the usual ways, I guess that just means remove curse. Alternatively, this really I feel like is very throwaway. That should be expanded upon. Alternatively, casting Banishment on the sword forces the vengeful spirit to leave it. The sword then becomes a +1 weapon with no other properties. So basically, I guess the best thing is you can, if you have access to the Banishment spell or someone who can cast it, you can turn your Sword of Vengeance into just a +1 sword. But that's it, folks. Not a whole lot to cover. 3 magic items, all of which are essentially, one is just a direct, it's just a magic item from the DMG. It's not new. Harkon's Bite, like I said, is just a reskinned, cursed version of a Luckstone, and Nepenthe is a sentient Holy Avenger that is apparently irredeemable. I'm bummed. This was a big letdown for me. I really, really liked the flavor and all of the uniqueness of all of the magic items contained in Curse of Strahd. As someone who doesn't really know about Ravenloft and Barovia more than what I've learned in just my time playing 5e, but as someone who is an immense Castlevania fan, the opportunity to include unique gothic horror, Ravenloftian, or even from other things as well, right? We have all these other horror like tropes that you could put in here, right? There's a zombie apocalypse. You could put a chainsaw or something equivalent to a chainsaw in here, a shotgun, right? You know, something, right? You could put in, I don't know, some sort of Tesla coil railgun style thing from the sort of Frankenstein type thing. You could put some sort of weird Cthulhu-y, you know, H.P. Lovecraft style funky weapon. But you could have put in, you had an opportunity to include, you know, Castlevania is known for the bunch of different weapons it has. I'm sure there's a ghost one. You could have thrown a proton pack in here. You don't have to call them these, but this was an opportunity to have a little fun and make interesting horror and spooky themed magic items, and you didn't, and that kind of really bummed me out. I would have loved an extra 20 pages of just magic items. I'm sure someone on the DMs Guild has made like a Relics of Ravenloft, and if not, that's free. Enjoy that. Somebody go make that. Make a Relics of Ravenloft, and it's just a bunch of horror-themed and spooky magic items. It'll do well, I promise. So, anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.